web. Peter probably touched on this a little bit for the other class that's here, but writing and preparing content for your website requires a different approach than writing content for printed publications. When you're writing copy, which is a term of written material that you're creating for the web, there's a couple of points. Grab people's attention, okay? I know how many times you come to the web and you see these sites completely overblown with content, like a block here, a block there, a block here. Like people spend about 3 minutes on a website on average. Even the good ones. YouTube, I think the average is about 5 minutes, okay? So nobody cares about content written. You need to be so cute with your content in 3 or 4 sentences. Even that, if you could do it in a sentence. I know just recently, I know that the Twitter About page here is an example. You know, keeping it interesting, keeping it short. Blog posts should be between like 300-500 words. Titles under 70 characters. These things, just to be aware of these things. It's not like brain surgery, but you know, you just need to be aware because so many times these mistakes are made, and your blog that you spent ages writing is now seen by nobody, and Google doesn't even like it. So you kind of shot yourself in the foot. I know a site that just launched actually that might be relaunched actually. So this is an interesting one for a second. Kind of have the balls to come along and relaunch your site with a logo and a login page. It's kind of like you might say that's easy, you know, anyone would do that. Not a single client out of 100 clients that JamJo has would take this approach. It would be impossible to sell this to our clients. You just couldn't do it because they would look at it and go, okay, we got a logo, we got a continue page. Now I know these are different to our clients to an extent because they're a web-based company. They're American, they have a big fan base behind them already. They have a bit of brand recognition online, which some of you probably know. So their brand, it's like Apple and their icon, you know, they don't even need the word next to their icon. They're so popular now, they just need an icon and everyone knows Apple, you know. So obviously a small company can't do that. But that holding page is pretty good because you can't do anything but log in. You know, like even the stupidest of people will go, I'll watch the video and then I'll log in. You can't get it wrong, you know. And that's why they've done it, you know, their user base is huge. So this stuff on the web everything is being simplified and everything is being boiled down. I think Twitter kind of revolutionized this a little bit because they introduced such simple context of 140 characters and everyone's like, why isn't there 160? You know, why 140? And it's because they said so. And that's a good idea, you know, kept to it, and that you kind of admire them for keeping it so simple. And then they grew. Facebook's slightly different because they're kind of doing everything now, but Twitter kind of has that simple approach. Everyone can use it. I mean, everyone can bang in 140 characters and say something. So it kind of works, and this is obviously, I think this is a professional network for your connecting with people. So that's an interesting, that's actually redesigned just this week. It's just launched this week. So it's kind of interesting that they take that approach and keep things simple. Targeting your audience, okay? The primary type of person that is visiting your website, who is that person? You know? What are the characteristics? So we had small business can up earlier. It's a small business network. Like we're not going to have, you know, big flashing, you know, colors all over the page, the brand, all that kind of stuff. We want to keep it kind of simple. The vocabulary you use for a solicitor website is typically not going to be used for a nightclub website. So again, writing content and marketing the actual product online, you got to get this. So much lazy stuff online because you can change it anytime you want. So you kind of just at the start you're just lazy. You fire it up there. We do it ourselves with JamJo, and we never come back. And it's still there a year later, and we're like, oh no, you know, like we didn't spend the time getting the content right. So now it's been there a year, and half of Cork thinks, or half of Ireland thinks we're kind of a crappy, boring website design company. So it's a bit better if you just take your time to write the content and think about your audience. So the vocabulary you use should represent kind of core values as well, because you have such fleeting moments with people visiting your site. I mean, you literally have seconds, so it's an incredibly difficult thing to market to people. So the branch out approach you saw earlier, I mean, they have an advantage because they made a nice presentation video. So multimedia is much more engaging than possibly just writing a text line. But a lot of sites have done that as well. I mean, just to give you an idea of the social network we're working on at the moment. I'll show you on the development, but it's a very simple little networking site, and it's for people into boating around the world. Typically, boating websites are kind of not so good, and it gives you a chance to kind of, I suppose, get interested in all the clubs around the world, all the marinas that you can connect with, some Google Maps on there, some GPS stuff that you can locate yourself on your boat, things like that. And it'll eventually turn into an iPhone app, so you can just bring it with you and all the rest. But this is just a launch of something interesting. It's not anything more than that really at the moment. So you can log in with Facebook, Twitter, all those social networking platforms. So we're not trying to reinvent the wheel. That's I suppose an important thing we're trying to get at, is that you're trying to connect with what's available already. Like, why would you get someone to register a username and password when they already have one on Facebook? So simply put the Facebook button up there and just get them to log in that way. And if they do log in that way, they'll pull in their avatar as well. So the person needs to do nothing. They just need to simply click a Facebook button, log into this site, log into that site, log into another site. And it's kind of easy, and this open auth technology is what people will be using quite regularly going forward, so you don't have to remember 50 passwords for 50 networking websites. Getting back to this, we have how much do you write, okay, content. Keep it simple, layer it with some keywords and phrases, and I suppose there's some generic rules here. 200 to 500 words, you can kind of, like, this is just a generic kind of rules, but of course not all pages would have to fit to this relevant content. Like a contact us page, you would not put 500 words on a contact page. Paragraphs should be 2 to 6 sentences in length so people can digest them. It's very difficult on a page when you see lots of content written and you're scrolling and you see all this text and you're kind of like, I know at college, when anything got more than like 2 or 3 pages, I just print it. You have to print it because you can digest content a lot easier on print than you can on screen. So it's a little bit easier to read something off a page than to read something off screen. So just be aware of that, because the person who hits your page, read this fantastic article that's 7 pages long, no one's going to give it the time of day, So you just have to break it up and make sure that it's easy to digest. Use headings, bullet points, that kind of stuff. These rules are great to follow for search engine optimization as well. So when you get into the technical stuff of search engine optimization, you don't have this right, then the search engine optimization stuff is going to get quite difficult after a while, because if you have nothing to work from, the search engine optimization is simply trying to enhance this. So you're kind of struggling at that point. I'll give you these slides because there's a lot here. There's so much stuff here, and benefits of your industry, news in your area, like JamJo. We write a lot about WordPress now, about how to use certain elements. A busy website for our client means that we get more money out of it because we get referrals. So we want our client sites to be successful, to be well crawled on the internet, that kind of stuff. So typically every client website should have a blog, and they should be writing some content around this area. Emphasize key elements. So bolding, you see a lot of text that comes up on screen. You bold certain elements, highlight a word, underline another sentence. Maybe there's a key message the company has. You might just increase the font size. You see when you come to sites, you might see a big statement across the top. And if you read that, that's enough. You've done it then at that stage. You don't care if they read anything else. Other types of media, I wish we could make a video about JamJo, but it costs a little bit of money. So branch out, have a beautiful video that you can just click play on. That's obviously very engaging. MailChimp.com is a great example of video tutorials on a company that grew off the back of them. Sending a newsletter is really difficult. Okay? There's lots of stuff that's difficult about sending a newsletter from your own website and your own server. MailChimp fixed that problem. They created an easy way to send newsletters, and they did it through explaining to people through videos how to go about sending that. So video is a big element online. YouTube, when it took off through the roof. Keep content fresh. This is something we always get here, and there's a good example here. Small business can, I think. On the homepage of this site, people give out to us a lot when we build websites and we build a blog. And the first thing they say, like, this particular screen isn't the best on the planet. And it has a scroll bar here on the right hand side. And you can see here I have to scroll, I have to scroll, I have to scroll. And there's a lot of content here, and I'm kind of scrolling, and clients kind of give out, and they go, Jesus, what about that article, 6 articles down? That was fantastic, that should be at the top. You know, that's everything we do, you know. Well, that's not how your user sees it, okay? Users have iPads now, they have iPhones, and the only thing you want to do on an iPhone, this is navigation has changed. People just scroll. So scrolling is actually a good thing because people are so lazy they don't want to click. So the worst thing, that's the worst thing about an iPhone is clicking a button or trying to. It's just disaster, you know. Like, what site do you come onto your iPhone where you want to kind of click this button and then a drop-down menu? Like, have you seen a drop-down menu on an iPhone? It's probably the worst piece of navigation on the planet, you know. So people love scrolling, and if you look up Small Business Canada on your iPhone, it scrolls and it scrolls and it scrolls forever, and that's what's kind of great about it. So you have to teach people that keeping content fresh is about coming back to your homepage. So TechCrunch, if I write 15 articles today and another 15 by 5 o'clock this evening, chances are everyone who came this morning is going to come back this evening, because there's now a whole new bunch of articles to read about technology. So fresh, and we get all that traffic back in the evening. So it's kind of keep the traffic fresh. There's a good example of this, the Royal Cork Yacht Club, the Old Crosshaven, they approached us. They were actually the site we started with back in London. I don't know how they got in touch with us, but we built a site for them. And it was a crap site, and they had like 300 visitors a month kind of thing. A couple of club members putting up, you know, a history page from 1600s, and that was kind of the bulk of it, you know. And they knew that, and there was people in the club who knew that. The technology then was a bit of a pain in the head, and if you got a website built, it was 10 grand, you know. But all we wanted was, you know, we just wanted €500 like for the month, so we just built them a website on WordPress. And the homepage was a scrolling, you know, work homepage that you get on every blog site. And there was a couple of good people in the club who started writing regularly and liked it, you know, it was something to do, and they promoted different events and stuff like that. And with a simple homepage, no navigation, there was no navigation. We couldn't build navigation 5 years ago. So it just had a homepage, and they moved from 300 a month to 7,000. Because they have 1,500 members, it made sense. If you write an article every day, chances are 800 of them will probably come back and read that article. So if I write one a day, 800 by 7, and do the maths, and it all works out kind of that way. So it's not a huge, like, this isn't incredibly difficult. It's like, it's a club, so it's a little community in itself. They're all interested in the club. They're interested in what happens in the club. They pay membership there. So it makes sense that if I've got 1,000 people here and I write a new article, at least half of them are going to check that article out again. So if I keep it going, and they have kept it going, they have about 900 articles now written since then, about 4 years ago, and they get about, I think it's about 160,000 page views a month, and about 150,000 visitors a year. So they now get paid to run that site. So they have advertising on the right-hand side where they actually make money. So whatever we charge them for keeping their website going, it's evolved a few times since then. They make that and again by just putting advertising on the site because they're generating that traffic. So you can see, it's very, in a way, it's kind of that's a simple example of keeping things simple and fresh. You find on TechCrunch who have skills that I could never have, even though I know about, you know, how to do the little tricks and the little tips. If you're a great writer, that's a different set of skills, and it's for a very different class. But if you can have those people writing on your site, and someone else taking care of the technical things, then you're onto a winning kind of formula at that stage. That's kind of it on content development there for the site. I mean, if you guys have questions around social networking or WordPress, just fire away. I'll be here for a few minutes anyway. But if not, I hope it was of some value, some interest. Yeah, team, like just a little bit around